Good afternoon, everyone. And as you know, my name is Zenzi Sewa, and this is Spiritual Infinity. And my guest today is Helen Edmondson. She is a spiritual guide and she's a best-selling author. And I think you can see when you look, when I look to her, she's written a book before and she has another one coming out. But she's here today about her journey, how she's to be that spiritual, what happened in her life that led her to what she's doing today. And Helen is in Maryland, in USA. And I forgot to ask you what the time difference, because so many times we say good morning, good afternoon, and it's afternoon here because I'm in London. Helen is American. I think it may be a 5-hour difference. So it's morning for her, afternoon for me. So without much ado, hi Helen, how are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm so happy to be here to talk with you and to share with your audience today.
Lovely. Well, as you know, we want to hear about your spiritual journey. Where did it start? Was it in childhood? Was it in your teenage? What you went through? Because so many of us are going through things, and sometimes we don't know how to handle it. And by listening to people's story, it gives us an inkling and an encouragement. So let's hear your story of your spiritual journey.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share because I think it's so important. Everybody's journey is so different and so unique. And I think what you're doing is wonderful to be able to have people share their stories because we all can take away something from them.
Yeah.
And so for my story, wow, I think it started for me having my spiritual journey. It started in childhood. Of course, I think like with most people, you can always go back to childhood and see that. I grew up in a religious family, very devout Catholic was my mother, my family, my whole family. And my journey started there. So it started in a traditional faith background. And I got my grounding from there. But as I move through life, you start to try and figure things on your own, or like you're coming up with your own worldview and how you want to show up in the world and how you want to embrace everything that's around you, from your just how authentically you are, or just your faith, how you show up with your faith, what you want to do with your career, and then eventually family and how you want your life to unfold. So for me, my whole journey, I think it's pretty interesting and it intertwines in a lot of different ways, but I'm going to just kind of take you through. I'm going to bring you up and then I'm going to kind of bring you back and take you around a little bit. So I actually, I'm going to fast forward, having that traditional faith background. I wrote my book, A Place of Love and Light. That was actually a 10-year, it's a collection of reflections, and it's a 10-year journey of me doing these writings that came to me during my quiet meditation time, and I put them together in this book. But before that happened, before we get to that point, I'm going to take you back. I went through the normal path, like everybody else. You go through school and then you go out and you get your job. And I ended up going into the federal government, and I was put my ladder, climbed up the ladder there pretty quickly. And I felt like that was my path. I went into finance, so I was actually a controller, and that was my title when I became a senior executive. So I was managing a lot of money for an agency within the federal government. I had success, I had money, I had travel, I had a title. At the young age of 36, I became a senior executive, which was pretty fast, considering, here in the US, you don't usually hit that level until you're about in your 50s. But the thing that supported me through my quick rise was I always felt like I had a good gut instinct. I always had good, I never really referred to it as intuition or anything, but I just knew that I could make decisions and put things together, and it helped me move up the ladder pretty quickly. I always felt like I just knew things that other people, I could see patterns and put things together that others couldn't. So that was a big help for me, but not fully understanding it. When I climbed up the ladder, I had all of that success, but one day I looked in the mirror and I was like, I can't do this anymore, because I felt so disconnected from myself. Because I'm actually more of a creative person, a more intuitively driven person. You know, I look at life in a little different perspective, but I was in a very logic-based, fact-based line of work. I did well at it, but it wasn't really where my heart was. And so after I had achieved all this success, thinking that's what I wanted and where I wanted to be, I got up one morning and I said, this just doesn't resonate with my soul. I can't do it anymore. I wasn't married, I have a son. I wasn't married in that space at that time. But I decided after all of that, my job. And it's like, I can't go to work and do this anymore when it doesn't feel like it's me. And so I had to have a honest look at myself. And I didn't know what my next step was going to be. But I took that leap of faith and I stepped out and I said, I don't know what's next, but I know this is not it for me. And I had a lot of people, family and all, saying, oh my goodness, why are you doing this? You know, what are you going to do next? I was like, I don't know, but I know this is not it. I just feel like it's not resonating with my soul. So that was one big turning point for me of listening, really starting to listen inward and listening to my soul, because I had gotten disconnected. I'm thinking, you know, I got caught up in the productivity culture and the performance and you do this and you do that.
Let me stop you there. You had this, as you said, this gut instinct. You could see things, you could put things together. Now, when did you realize that you had this gut instinct? Was there anything in your teenage life, something that made it? What, you know, it was there and it was always there. When did you realize that it was there?
Well, you know, like you said, I always knew it was there, but I didn't have words for it. I couldn't explain how things were coming to me. And I know now, you know, just intuitively, I was really in tune with things in a different way. So it was always there. Didn't have words for it. And I just know that as things started to unfold for me, it became more and more like that working with something a little differently here. And so I say for anybody, if you look back in your childhood, you can tell when we all have intuition. Some of us have a heightened sense of it in a different way, maybe a little more sensitive to it. But if you you think back to it, we all have it, but we can get disconnected from it because of the expectations that are placed on us, the responsibilities, even from a young age. You know, you're expected to be this way or do that, or, you know, the responsibilities that are being placed on us, and it can drown it out.
Was there anything in your childhood that might have pointed out to you, or, as you say, we get disconnected, or something happens when we're young that makes us cut off? Was there anything that you used to do as a child or a teenager that may have brought the attention that you had?
That brought the attention that I had it. Well, you know, I think for me, I always knew that I had it, but it's like I said, for me, growing up in a traditional faith-based background, and I had these really intuitive experiences. They didn't marry it with that religion, you know, my belief system back then. And so I didn't fully know how to express it or talk about it, or you just shut it down. Because when people don't believe in the fact that you can sense things, you know, you're getting these different nudges or impressions, or you're getting information, when you're a child and that's not a belief system you come from, it gets shut down.
Yeah, I understand you. You see things, or you sense something, and you know that if you speak out, it's not going to be looked at in a good way. Right. And you keep on seeing it. You may talk to a friend or say something, or you may say something out, and then you're being shut down to say anything else. So right. It was there. It was there, but you kept it until you stepped out into the world and you stepped out into the work field. Then you were able to let that raise its head, and you were able to play into that, to use that, and found that, okay, this is good. This is good. And as you said, you grew very quickly And that, you know, the position you got is just when people are in their 40s or 50s. But here you are, this young person, and because of those intuition, because of those gut feelings that you put to use and you acted on them, you were able to rise very quickly. Very good.
Yeah, absolutely right. And with that, you know, it helped me to rise quickly, but then it also helped me recognize that there was something more. I just felt like there was something more calling me forward. And so that's in bigger than that position. And that's where I felt that disconnect. And I think when we get quiet and go inward and you start looking at and listening to what's true for you, you start realizing how your path is meant to unfold for you. And that's why I was able to, I quit the job. I took a leap of faith. I had no other job and I did have a mortgage and a car and all these other responsibilities. But I was like, I'm going to take this leap of faith and life, God, whatever, the universe, you're going to have to catch me. And so, but I ended up moving because I was working a lot of hours. I ended up moving into getting married, starting a family, which was something I wanted to do, but I couldn't do it the way I was rising up the ladder. So I moved into that side of life. And fast forward you, and I was able to take care of my mother who was sick at the time. It was when my mother passed. My mother passed 3 months after I had my son. And when I had that situation right there, I was going through grief and going through being a new mom. That really heightened everything. I was dealing with that for 3 years. That really heightened my experience of this awakening that I had in 2013. Because sometimes trauma or grief will make you look at things, make you go deeper inward, and then will heighten things for you. So I actually started doing Oprah and Deepak's 30-day meditation challenges for anybody who remembers when they were doing those.
Yes, yes, I do.
Those were great. I loved when they, but I started doing this. I was trying to deal with grief and being a new mom at the same time, because that was my highest high and lowest low when my son was born and my mother died. But in doing that and starting my meditation practice in 2000, right before the beginning of 2013, I didn't realize I was laying a foundation for my gifts to open up even more. And so I had that awakening in 2013 where my intuitive abilities just really came full on and I could understand them. You didn't understand them, but you started working with them. And I started writing and started doing a lot of writing in my meditation time with reflections that were coming to me. And that's what the book was, 10 years of me writing these reflections and really getting deep into meditation and writing down what was coming to me. So over a 10-year period of time, was doing that, and then I finally put them together in a book to offer out to folks.
Okay, you said that it was a period and it's interesting when how do I want to say this? Because it's a series, and it's a series because you had this gift, you've used it in your work, but then you realized you weren't fulfilled. And then you came to a point where you said, I can't do this anymore. And it's interesting because we have these gifts, and sometimes we're using them, but it comes a time when how we use them, we're guided in how and what we need to do. And it was interesting, and it's very interesting. I think people agree with that. You had these gifts, climbing up the corporate ladder, doing all this, not feeling fulfilled. Did you had a child before then when you were in the corporate ladder?
No, I had my child after that.
Okay, so you did all these things, and then you said when you finished, you then got married, which you wanted to, but you were so busy running the corporate ladder that it was when you stopped that your life, I would say, really started to open up. And you started to become fulfilled because you had time to nurture relationship. You had time to watch over your mother, and you got pregnant, and here you are being a mother, which you wanted, but you never had time. All those things that started to make you feel that you were creative, um, then come to fruition. Unfortunately, along that time, your mother passed. How did you feel? Because you did. It was in a way a bit of a crisis point for you because there was so much going on, and then your mother passing. In your spiritual journey, how did that play for you?
Well, I think for me, and even for just even your listeners, I think when we go through those transition points like that in our spiritual journey, those are the things that drive us inward. And when we really go inward and we start listening and connecting back to what's true for us, or giving us the space to hear what's meant to be true for us, that's what's guiding you along your journey. And a lot of times, because we're so busy with the routines and responsibilities and obligations and the expectations of others, you think that you need to be doing this and that. We drown ourselves out. We drown our own inner voice out, and we lose sight and we lose focus of actually who we truly are and what we truly want. And I think that was my transition point when I left my work and went off because I needed to get more in touch with what was meant for me and let things unfold. And then when my mother passed and with my son, it drove me inward again. And I think anybody who goes through these major transition points, it draws you inward to really start listening to the voice of yourself, your own soul, and what's meant for you and what you're meant to do next. And that was what happened with
Yeah,
that transition point with my son, birth my son, and the passing of my mother.
yeah. It was a difficult time, but it was a time when, as you said, it's another transition after losing your work, another transition with that grief, going inwards and
Yes,
getting stronger, getting stronger connected, and having more time even to listen to that voice even more.
yes.
So what took place after that? What what went on after that?
Well, after that, and I just getting more in touch with myself and going inward, and I started writing these reflections after the series of experience events that had happened. I started realizing I needed to do these writings. But in the meantime, I will tell you, in having these, I realized I had this heightened intuitive gifts, these experiences that started happening for me. So I was trying to figure out how to work with all of that. But I'll tell you, I'm going to take you to my next transition point that was really big for me because as I'm being a mom and going along, dealing with grief, working through all of this, I realized my son has heightened intuition ability like I do. And so one of the things for him was trying to get him to understand that how when he was sensing things and how he's moving through the world, his perspective was right. It's perfectly fine. It's nothing that he needed to be, hide or anything because he had this height. He could sense things. He could pick up on things.
What
Yeah.
age was he when you realized this?
Well, it started young for him. We started noticing things when he was 2 and 3 that he had heightened intuition abilities. But there was a point when he was 8 that I'm moved forward to when he was 8, when he and I had a conversation. One day he came home from school and he was talking about he was getting bullied and the kids didn't understand some of the things he was talking about and how he said they could put things together like I could. And I told him that I said, Ethan, my son's name, Ethan. I was like, Ethan, you have to be proud of yourself. I'm trying to get him to understand he has to be confident in himself. And I will share with you, we were at that point because we were trying to figure out how to help him with his intuitiveness. We did end up on a TV show here in the US to
Okay.
help him with his intuitive abilities to try and figure out how do you work with a child that has such heightened intuitive abilities. But as I'm trying to get him to be confident about it, and I'm working with my own gifts, but quietly and not saying anything to anybody, just working, talking with people on the side about it. He said to me that day when I'm trying to settle him and get him to be, calm and okay with everything. He said, "Mom, I can't be me until you be you. Stop hiding."
How wonderful! Absolutely wonderful.
And that was an eye-opening experience for me because I was like, wow, out of the mouth of my little child, I was like, God is talking to the universe, whatever level you want to put on it, came and just kind of said, you have to be the role model your child needs to be. And you have to embrace everything about you, all your authenticity, all your uniqueness, everything that you have. And you need to show up and be present in the world and let your son see you, see what that looks like.
Yes.
And that changed, one saying that to me that day changed the whole trajectory of my life.
That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You said you noticed that he had this gift when he was 2 or 3. Now, people who are listening, they might have the same thing. What were the signs when he was 2 or 3 that you noticed?
Well, for the signs that we noticed in him was that when he was 2 or 3, and he was having some really strong, intuitive, unique experiences. And kids, and actually, I found out later, it's not quite as common. I started an effort after this with my son, and we'll go through that, called Highly Intuitive Kids, to support kids that have heightened intuitive abilities. But at the age of 2, he started talking about, when he first started talking about experiences when he was older, when he was an adult, he started talking about things like that. We were like, this is unique. And he was explaining a situation to us when he first started being able to talk about how when he was grown, he was running into a building. He was being chased by these bad men into a building. The building was on fire. And he said, and my body died, but I didn't. He said, and and you and Dad were there, but you weren't you and Dad. He was telling us these stories I knew he couldn't have made up anywhere. And he said that I went to the nowhere place and I waited for you and Dad. And he said, and you guys took a long time to get together, which is now we got married older. And he said, and I came back to be your son.
So what he was talking about was a previous life.
Yeah. Yes. And we didn't understand that at the time. It was just like, wow, we was just starting to try to figure, what this, and so he was talking about something that was beyond his being able to be 2 years old. Doing some research, I found out this is not common for children because they're so connected still at a young age to something bigger that they've come from. So he started talking about that. He started being sensitive about this one experience. He was racing to go to bed, and we were asking, why are you racing to go to bed? And he said, because grandma comes to play ball with me at night, which was my mom who passed away. So that made me smile. It's like she's still around. And when you wonder, are your loved ones still around? They're still around, watching over us and our children. So we started having these kind of experiences. But those were things I was noticing with him, and him just being able to pick up on things. He was really being an empath. He could pick up on feelings and emotions of people around him, just really being sensitive to things. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah. So he just had this different type of connection, which kids, this goes back to what we were just talking about. Kids between the ages of 0 and up to like 5, before they start school, are just naturally intuitive and connected to, the greater something up until that age. Not until they start learning logic and going to school and learning, 1, 2, 3, ABC, and to think factually, they start to disconnect from that part of themselves. That's really, helps them to know who they are. And that's when adults get disconnected from that too, when we get so much stuck in our head in the obvious expectations and the logic, that when you slow down, when you can start tuning out that noise, you start really connecting inward to yourself, what's important to you and what you're really meant to do. I believe that's how purpose unfolds.
Do you know, you said something very, very interesting there, that Up until the time he was 8, he was so inwardly connected. But when he started to go to school and learn this 1, 2, 3, that's when he started to shut down, which then tells me, is the thing that we teach our children really to their advantage?
Well, this is part of what, for our children, we have to help them to stay open. We have to help them stay connected to that sense of, wonder and connection that they have. Because when we start saying, when kids, they naturally talk about things, they're wise. They're so wise and carry so much wisdom.
Yes.
A lot of times we adults think we know more than children. Sometimes children know more than adults do, but it's just that we get, as you get older, you get caught up in the, like I said, the thinking a certain way. And children have such a freedom and such a expansiveness in how they move through the world. But when they're told to, don't be so sensitive, or don't talk about this, or don't talk about that because that might not be right, it shuts them down. And so for my son, we just allowed him to talk, and we were like, okay, that's interesting. And let him just unfold with what's meant for him.
Because talking to others and doing some reading, sometimes I feel we need to look at the way we teach, not at the way, what we teach. Because I'm constantly looking and questioning what we teach. Is it the right thing? And the way we teach, is it the right thing? Because when you're listening to that inner wisdom and power, and you look years gone by, I sometimes think that our educational system needs a lot to be desired for humankind as we are supposed to be. That's a question.
Well, I would have to agree with that. I agree, because part of it is that we, by some of the things that are taught to kids, or that you're putting, it can cut down on their creativity and their natural connection and the natural abilities and gifts that they may have, of what they're meant to bring to the world.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. And I think some of that's been done by design, but that's another subject.
But I think as parents, if you can just if you hear your child talking about certain things you don't understand, just let them talk, and just embrace, and don't make it strange or weird, but just let them talk and be with it, because so much creativity and so much truth can come from them, and so much, we can learn so much. And I will tell you, if I hadn't been open to my son saying what he said to me, when he said that to me that day, Mom, I can't be me until you be you, then it was in that moment that I realized I had to step out and really embrace myself. I wasn't being my authentic self, and I wasn't putting it out there. And so because of him, I embraced it, stepped out with purpose and passion, set up How Intuitive Kids, put my books out. I started doing what I was meant to do, and not shrinking or hiding it, because I didn't want people to think I was weird, or think that, I was, a lot of people think that. I don't want somebody to think I'm weird. I don't want people to think, this or that thing about me, but it's not about that. It's about showing up and bringing your light fully to the world. Yeah. Because when you show up and bring your light to the world and what you're meant to bring to the world, trust me, somebody on the other side of what you offer is being helped, inspired, encouraged, motivated. You help to uplift. Nobody's meant to shrink or stay small.
No. And what we need to realize is that every one of us individually have our own gift, and we all have different gifts, and we all, when we come into this world, come with those gifts, and we're supposed to develop them by sharing, because as we share, we add to our society, and we grow stronger individually and as a community, because we're sharing that. It's like a puzzle. We all are part of the big greater puzzle, you know, one piece doesn't mean anything. If you, the plus of 20,000 pieces, putting in 100 pieces doesn't mean anything. And when you do 10,000 pieces, you start to see, but you really don't see the puzzle. It's when all of us come with our gifts and we're authentic and we're allowed and encouraged to share our gifts, that we add to the fabric of our society, and that society is a much better place to live in, because we all have a gift coming from the creator and understanding from unconditional love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Beautiful.
with you now stepping into your authentic self, and you said now over the period of 10 years when you wrote this book, A Place of Love and Light, it was a series of different experiences, different things that you had written down. Can you share one or two?
One or two of the what the writing? Oh, you want me to read or write it?
Well, if you could share one or two, because it's part of that journey of what you experienced, or if you can tell us what that experience was.
Okay, well, the experience was as I was receiving these beautiful messages, I started writing them down. I set up a website and I was posting them for years. And people would go and look at the website. There was no service, it's just the writing. And so I started realizing there's some value to these writings. And like I said, I could put them in, consolidated them in the book. I mean, if you would like me to read one, I can read one for you.
Please do.
I would love that. Actually, I'm going to read. I'm going to pick a quick one here. One of my favorites is called The Mask. And it's just because I think it falls in line with what we were just talking about. And it's in the chapter on self-awareness called The Mask. Remove yours and I might remove mine. You see, I put it on when I was 3. It was fashioned just for me by my parents, family, and society. I have more to offer than what you see, but I dare not remove it because I've been told no one would love me. I don't like wearing this mask because it's uncomfortable. It doesn't really fit me, but out of habit, I keep it on until eventually, one day, I can't take it anymore. I'm unhappy and not who I truly am and who I want to be. I have so much more to offer than what others want to see. So I plot ways to break free. I fantasize about the day I can truly be me. Then one day, I felt deep inside that I just had to be me. I can't live behind this mask to please those around me. I have to choose to live in the fullness of me. So I decided to break free. Nervous and scared no one would love me or even like the real me, I rip off my mask and set myself free. And that changed my reality. And now I live life as it was meant to be. For me, I live free. I live fully me. No shame, guilt, fear, or insecurity, just soaringly me. Thank you, God, for holding me and helping me to come to the reality that the only way to live is to take off my mask and have everyone see me, the real me, and not who you want me to be, but the I am me. So here I stand in all my beauty. Love me or leave me, you decide. I have to be me. But eventually you'll see that we're not so different, you and me. Take off your mask and set yourself free. You see, unconditional love is the life we were meant to lead. I'm not afraid of you, so please don't be afraid of me. We are all one as we're meant to be, one love and one humanity. So please take off your mask as I have done, and together we can all live happily and free the way we were meant to be because we love unconditionally. When we lighten each other's load, we live happily and free the way we were meant to be. We are free.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And I can resonate with that. And I think people listening will resonate with that, because we are all individual and we really need to listen to one another and embrace one another and realize the Creator sent us here out of one love. And when we can recognize and be that one in unity, what a wonderful world. The world is wonderful. God, the Creator didn't make an ugly world. It only became ugly because of our actions. But the world is beautiful. Beauty is there all around us, if only we can see it and understand it. That is so lovely.
Oh, thank you.
So you've written this beautiful book, A Place of Love and Light, but I understand that you've written another one, but before we get there, so you've written this book. What do you do, as your son said, when you become you and be the example for him and live in truth and light? He can become him. So what are you doing on a daily basis of your life to bring out your gifts? Do you work with other people? Do you have retreats? What is it? Come on, tell us.
Well, yes, I do. So each month I offer a free monthly workshop, and it's called Come Home to the Light Within. And that's where we just take 90 minutes. It's on a Sunday evening, just 90 minutes to shut out the noise, to get quiet, and we go within and we do some journaling and we talk about some reflective questions, just the opportunity to connect back to our true selves, where we drop the expectations, the responsibilities, the have-tos, and give ourselves that gift. Because it really is, it's in that stillness that we connect back to our compassion, to our love, to our self-compassion. And the more we connect to ourselves, the more we can give out positively to others. So I offer that. I offer a community for people who want to, continue to walk that path even deeper with others, like-minded folks who are on that path and to get some soul nurture and reflection. I offer that. I have my books. I do coaching with people, coaching and mentoring, and you offer intuitive guidance sessions. So I've just let myself step into my full expression. And I do that not only for me, but for my son to see that show up as you are. And it's okay. It's the way we're meant to be here.
Yeah, because you're using your gift. You take that time to develop and share it with others. Now you say you do mentoring and other sessions. How do people connect with you?
You can connect with me. The best place is to go to my website, ellenedmondson.com, and you'll find access to everything that I offer. So you'll find my book. You'll find links for any other way that you'd like to connect with me. The free workshop. Please, it's open to anybody who wants to come and sit in that space once a month and learn more about my work. But I'm committed to this, working with people and helping just to help people connect back to themselves, to their light, so we can do just what you said, is to show up more authentically and put more, positivity out in the world. I'll tell you, the subtitle on my book is A Journey Back to Compassion, Authenticity, and Making a Positive Contribution to the World.
Lovely. But you've also got another book in the work.
Yes, and that book takes the themes in this one. Now, this book, it's not just poetry. It's portraits, short reflections. So you can sit and open it to any page. And if you're going to give yourself, and I encourage people every day, if you could just take 5 minutes for yourself, just to sit in the quiet and drop the noise away and just connect with yourself. That's when your life starts to open and flow in a different way, because you're going to start hearing your own voice, your own inner guidance, your own intuition, that still small voice within. It will start guiding you more versus everything else running your life. So my second book is called A Place of Love, Light, and Learning. So it takes what's in this book, it takes it a little deeper, a deeper dive, and it has a lot of prompts, journaling prompts, daily prompts, to help people work on living more authentically every single day and working. So it's not a sequel, but a great companion book to the first one.
Okay, is that book out already?
It will be out a little later this year, so it's coming soon. So I'm excited about that one.
And have you got a set title for it yet?
Yes, it's called A Place of Love, Light, and Learning, a 52-week A practical 52-week guide to spiritual growth, self-reflection, and intentional living.
Right. So everybody's heard that, and I'll get you to repeat that again before we say goodbye. Okay, so so through your son giving you a jolt, it's pushed you, it's elevated you, it's propelled you, and to this. How old is your son now?
Now he's 16.
So 8 years. There you are. It takes time, but it's there. And what does your son say to you now?
You know, and this is what I think every parent wants to hear. My son is always saying, it's like, Mom, I'm proud of you. He says, I'm proud of you and I love you. And the thing is, because he sees now and he openly and freely talks about, you know, kids go through that period of teen years when they, you know, he still has his gifts, but he's going through that fitting in those teen years, and however he's meant to use it, life is going to show him, you know, and will guide him that way. But because he sees me doing this work and producing these books and showing up now, it's like it's given him more confidence to show up. And when he says, comes to me and hugs me and says, Mom, I love you and I'm proud of you, no parent can ask for anything more. That always makes me a little choked up, because I'm just like, oh, you know, that's what you want, is for your kids to see that. And
When he said to you, you know, when you show up, then it's the guide for me to show up. You've been the guide. You've stood up and been the guide. So he has that to look up to. And as you said, Spirit, the Creator, will show him the right way to use his gifts. He's watching you use yours and helping others, and that gives him the encouragement to live his life, but also to realize that he has this inside of him. And it's actually a good benchmark, because it also helps them to think of their actions. Think of their actions. They, you know, when you do start to walk that spiritual path, that part's when you're connecting to the Creator, because that's what you're doing. You tend to think, am I doing the right thing? Because somebody is watching. I'm not alone. and when they're young, and this is where I say how we teach children, I think we need really to look at it again, so that they come in with gift, they come in with that openness, and it's our duty to help them to develop it, not to shut it down. And I think as along the line, we need to relook at the education we give to our children.
right.
So, Ellen, we've spoken, sort of beaming. You know, when I look at you, you remind me of Gladys Knight. Has anybody told you that?
Yes, I have people tell me that. Thank you. That's such a compliment.
Can you, before we say thank you and goodbye, can you give us a nugget or two for the listeners, encouragement or advice, how they can step and walk in through their path to help them? As I said, a lot of people are going through things and they're not sure how to begin or how to start or what to do. How would you advise them?
Well, what I advise people, two things. I love this part of it, because this is one of the things I do in my workshop. And I always leave, when I'm talking about podcasts or talking about these two pieces of nuggets of information. Everyone is constantly, we're all on a spiritual path. And every choice you make, through every thought you think and action you take, you're unfolding how your life is going to go. And if you can do this from a place of compassion and authenticity, and really getting quiet and letting yourself, connecting with yourself and living from that truest part of yourself, your life is going to flow with a greater ease. There's two questions I leave people with. Do these check-ins. Just give yourself 5 minutes a day, 2 minutes if that's all you have. But ask yourself this question: what is the most loving or compassionate thing I can do for myself right now? Okay, that's one. That's a check-in you can do at any point. And whatever that may be, do it. You start to open the space to hear your own soul. You start to open that space to connect in with that truest part of yourself. What is the most compassionate and loving thing I can do for myself right now? Even if it comes up, drink a glass of water, do that. Take a walk, do that. It doesn't have to be something big, but you're honoring yourself and you're learning to honor that voice of your soul. And then the second question is, what is my soul whispering to me right now? Or what does my soul want me to do right now? And if you can check in, those are just some practical ways to start connecting and listen to that, because we're in an overwhelming time, in an overwhelming world with a lot of messages flying around. You have social media, you have news, you have, just like I said, the expectations, responsibilities, life. But if you can slow down and check in with yourself, those two questions, listen, and start opening up that connection with your inner guidance and start living from that space, your life will start flowing in a whole different way for yourself based on your truth and not what the world's expectations are of you.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Ellen, thank you so much for that. I'll put it down as well. Thank you so much for those two nuggets. And I'm sure all of you have listened to that. Please, if you want to contact Ellen, she's given out the website. Ellen, say your website again, please.
It's my name, EllenEdmondson.com.
That's it, HelenEdmondson.com. Everything is there, her free workshops. If you want to contact her one-to-one, everything's on that what's on that website. So please do. So I say thank you all for this today. Thank you, Ellen in Maryland, for joining us and sharing with us your journey. And you've got a great son there. It's wonderful that it was through him that he made you kick up and open up your eyes. And as you said, our children sometimes can be more intelligent than we can, and we need to listen to them, especially when they're young.
They're our greatest teachers.
Okay, so everybody, thank you all for listening. This is Zenzi Sewa in London, and to Ellen in Maryland. Everybody, thank you for joining, and bye for now. Bye, everyone.